What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to a brand new video. Today I have the top 10 tips to become a hopefully more successful Battlefield 6 player. I got a ton of hours now in the game, found some hacks also through the chat, of course. I have a question for you guys. I normally don't make these type of videos, but I'm planning to make more of them through Battlefield 6. So please let me know some feedback about this video. Should I make them faster? Should I make them longer? Is it good the way it is? Just let me know anything. The only thing I have feedback for myself is I don't really have a lot of backup footage for the stuff I'm going to explain. So I'm going to explain them very carefully, but the gameplay in the background might not always, match what I'm explaining, just so you guys know. But there are some very useful tips in this. So I want to get into it. Don't want to make the video too long. Let's make it very informative, very fast, hopefully very useful. Be sure to drop a like if you learned something new as well. And let's get right into it. So the first one is the gunplay in Battlefield 6. There is spread in this game. Spread or bloom, they're basically the same thing. What's important about this is that when you shoot for longer periods, your bullets are not going where you're aiming, which might make it feel like you have bad hit registration. Well, this is not the case. The only way to compensate for that is either you use a barrel, which not every weapon has. I believe the AK has this, the LMG has this. But not all weapons have. Be sure to check if this attachment is there. But there are some attachments that can improve accuracy. Accuracy is basically what they mean with spread. But the other way to compensate for this is by tap firing. Because when you tap fire, you kind of reset the spread for your gun every time. So when you're struggling to hit players, or you should always make this rule for yourself, if a player is beyond, let's say, 50 meters, you gotta start tap firing in order to actually win the gunfight. It might seem like it's not the right thing to do, but when you start tap firing, you're gonna be faster at hitting all your shots on target. Also, it makes recoil control a little bit easier. Number 2, and that's learning spawns. This is literally the number 1 tip I give to players that ask me like, hey, I've been playing for a while, I want to get better. What is something I should focus on? And that is learning spawns. Every time you die, you spawn in somewhere. This is actually a perfect learning point of learning spawn positions in certain situations. It can actually go quite deep. For breakthrough, the learning spawns is usually quite easy. You have an attack and a defending team, so the teams are a lot more predictable. But for conquest, spawns can feel very random. Well, they actually are not. They're very calculated. So when you learn spawns, you give yourself such a big advantage at probably getting so many more kills. Usually throughout a game, I learn the mechanics, but mainly how I get more kills is by learning spawns. In the beginning, I'm, fairly average, a little bit above average in getting kills on the leaderboard. But throughout a game's life cycle, I'm learning spawn positions, and that's how I usually get a lot more kills. Also, learning spawns is super useful for winning games. Number 3, positioning. I could make probably an hour-long video about positioning, but I have a quick 3 tips you want to know about positioning. So overall, positioning is where you position yourself on the map in order to be as useful as you possibly can be. For positioning, what you need to know is important. Where are my teammates? So this is where you need to check your minimap. Where could the enemy team possibly be, or where are they? In case they're spotted, you already know where they are. And is the gun that I have good for that range? So in order to position yourself well, you always check like, okay, my teammates are there. They probably have this side of the map covered, or they have that side of the map covered. Now I'm going to position myself in a way where I look at where potentially enemies could be, but also within the range of where my gun is going to be functional. A submachine gun is going to be functional in close range. Assault rifle is going to be functional in long range. I could make a very long video about this, but these are the basics of positioning to keep in mind. Every time you go through the map, you have to ask yourself these type of questions. Number 4, and this is something that I've actually learned fairly quickly. Stealth in Battlefield 6 is extremely important. There's 3 things mainly that will make you stand out. With the snipers, it's a scope glint. I wouldn't be surprised if they nerf this very quickly. But as soon as you zoom in with a sniper, everyone's gonna know where you are. So be smart about literally just zooming in. You cannot just hard scope around the map and expect no one's gonna know where you are. So far, this will probably get patched, but so far, you'll be an absolute pinpoint for the enemy team. Like, okay, there's a sniper, we know now. The other thing with stealth is use suppressors. They're super useful. They keep you off the minimap. They do not remove the hit indicator, so when you shoot a player, they'll still know where you're getting shot from. But suppressors in this game are a very clutch barrel to have. So be sure to use suppressors. And laser sights are actually quite visible. You don't literally see someone's laser sight, but I noticed that it's a lot harder to flank because they'll detect an enemy super fast, especially in the peripheral view. I think that's the name. Peripheral view, you know, in the corners. When they see a laser sight, they see a little shining light. You become the first target they go for. So I actually stopped using laser sights on quite a lot of weapons, and I've actually been playing quite a bit better, even though I'm a big fan of hip firing kills. Number 5, learn the movement. I know a lot of people are like, but I don't like the movement. Movement is your biggest friend in any FPS game. So try and learn this. The way I learn it is by overdoing a certain movement. So if I want to learn how to slide properly, or if I want to learn how to jump properly, I overdo it for, you know, 2 or 3 days. So every kill you're trying to slide, and after a while you learn, you make mistakes, but you also learn when sliding works very well. And it's a super fast and effective way to learn new movement in a game. Sliding in every game works a little bit different, so try and get used to that as quickly as possible. Number 6, when to shoot. The amount of times I have teammates sitting right next to me, I'm on the flank, and they start shooting way too early, while there was actually so much more room to get up close. Obviously, when you start shooting from a further range, it's going to take, 1, it's going to take longer to kill the player. 2, they also have time to react to your shots. Sometimes when you're trying to flank and there's a player right in front of you, it might not always be the best thing to start shooting right away. Try and close the distance first if you can. There could also possibly be more enemies, and the closer you are, the faster you kill enemies, the more successful you will be. So try and close that distance, and don't always shoot right away when you see an enemy. Also, only start shooting when you're sure you're gonna get the kill. I see this happen a lot as well, as where people start shooting a lot from a long distance. You do a little bit of damage, they manage to get to cover, they heal up, and you're basically exposed on the minimap in case you're not using a suppressor, but also in terms of sound, they will know where you are, but also the teammates will know where you are. So I always suggest to just shoot only when you know you're gonna get the kill. Number 7, that is team play. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna be like, well, you're the biggest solo player that I've ever seen in Battlefield. What do you mean team play? Team play in this game, it's a little bit tricky. Team play can be extremely overpowered. For example, when you have a tank and you can repair the tank, it's really overpowered. But use team play with friends. Using it with randoms can be very tricky and very hard. But overall, team play can also be just knowing where your team is and knowing where to position yourself according to your team. And sometimes you want to stick together. Sometimes if you see a teammate push with them. And don't just sit in the back. So team play in this game can be very effective and very useful, but you got to be smart on when to use it and when not. Number 8, and that's flanking. Flanking is probably my favorite thing to do in the entire Battlefield history. Try and sometimes make longer routes across the edges of the map instead of just doing a straight frontal push. Can make a big difference into winning or losing a game. Even just a small 4 or 5 kill streak on a nice flank that took a little bit of time can make a huge difference. Especially playing Breakthrough, you sometimes notice those points where everyone gets stuck and people keep trying the same thing. It just doesn't work. Trying to go for a flank can be very useful in these type of situations. Number 9, muscle memory. And what I mean with muscle memory, if you find settings that work for you, stick to them. Don't change. Do not change. You can change later on. Even on a bad day, just don't change. A lot of people, they've been asking me like, hey, dude, your settings video is 5 years old. This is for Battlefield 5. Have you changed anything? And I am like, no, haven't changed anything. Everything is still the exact same. Why? Because I'm just trying to get the muscle memory down as perfect as it possibly can be. So what I always suggest is get some good settings that feel semi-comfortable, because it's never going to feel 100% comfortable. Use those, get used to it, build muscle memory. Once you get to a decent pace, you could slightly adjust settings maybe, according to make muscle memory a little easier. But let your muscle memory take some time to learn your settings. And yes, you're going to have bad days and you're going to have good days. And on the bad days, it's important not to adjust your settings, because you're just not letting your muscle memory actually learn the settings. The last one, number 10, this is a very important one if you want to be an overall successful Battlefield player. Learn weapon variety. So if you're like a sniper and you want to just snipe, you know, you should have fun in the game. But if you want to improve, it is very useful to be able to pick up any gun in the game and know how to play with them and know how the recoil patterns work and know how to position yourself with that weapon. And when you pick up a weapon, you instantly know what type of weapon it is. That's why I always suggest people to use a wide variety of weapons. And in order to learn a weapon, yes, you have to stick to that weapon for a little while. But you don't want to be, you know, picking up a weapon and you've never seen that weapon before. So you have to figure it literally out at the spot how that works. That's a very important tip. Try a variety of weapons. Ladies and gentlemen, those are some quick 10 tips. I quickly wanted to go through all the information. There's a lot of tips where I could talk about hours for, which I sometimes do in my streams, by the way. But I just quickly want to go through. Hopefully you learned something new. If you did, let me know. If you like these type of videos, also let me know. And I hope to see you guys in the next video.